Rosa Salas have sent me 2 bottles, and the 2 bottles that he sent are new. He sent them to a couple of reviewers and to get their thoughts and to have a bit of fun to see what they get from them. And I've started to sort of get an idea now of what's in them, tried to get to grips with them a little bit really, and see if I can get anywhere near what is there. Now, I've got to put it out there, I love both fragrances. When I first sniffed them, I think I sprayed too much and I found them a little bit overpowering. And I thought, oh no, what's he sent me? It's going to be a bit challenging. But after wearing both, they're not challenging to me at all. They are actually quite easy to wear. Bear with me. Bear with me, bear with me, bear with me. So the people that these have been sent to are John, Kevin at Mersey Scents, Centralizer, Barry's got them, and Centurion's got them, and myself. So that's the people that I believe have them. So I'm just checking that on my phone, apologies. And then on to my thoughts on them. So let me move firstly into Ceylon. See if I can get that on. Can you see that okay? Yeah, Ceylon, there we go. So that is the first one that I'm going to try and break down for you. Now, these really worry me because I've picked up a few fragrances before where I'm blind testing them, and I genuinely sometimes really don't have a clue what I'm picking out. And Nigel touched on this on the stream the other day and said, don't worry about it. We have, who else? Have we got anyone else in the room? We've got Fragrance Anatomy. Hello, thanks for joining. So, Ceylon. Now, I could have cheated, tried to type Ceylon into Google, see if I can find an association with the name. Becca did that. It didn't work. So we didn't find anything. Yo, 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 yo. We have new dandelions in the house. Right, so first one. Let me just give this a quick spray. I'm going to spray it on my arm. Let's give that a little air in first. Let that settle down just a touch. Just tell us your story. Thank you, Nigel. I'll tell you the story. Right. Now, this smells really familiar, very familiar. And off the bat, when I get the opening, I get a hint of booze. So I get like a rum accord. It could be whiskey. I know they're completely different alcohols, but I get a rum or a whiskey accord. Then what really hits me is cinnamon. Now, the cinnamon that comes through, it reminds me of those aniseed or fireballs. I don't know if you know what those are, but it's really, really strong on that sort of fireball, aniseed balls effect. So I get like an aniseed in there immediately. Those little red balls. So you must know what they are. I used to love them as a kid. So that is what I get very quickly. Then I might be way off here, but I get like a cherry tobacco type vibe to it. So, sorry, I am smelling one from Rosa Salas blindly. I don't know. This is going to be going live soon on the Rosa Salas website, I believe. It's called Ceylon 075. And we are blind testing this to see. This will be an interpretation of something. So the interpretation will be of something famous out there. It could be niche. It could be designer. I'm guessing from this it's quite niche. It's more of a summer winter scent. It reminds me of winter. It reminds me of Christmas quite a bit because I get some cloves and some spices in there. So that's another feature I get from it. So that is. Sorry, apologies for banging the table down. I've got to be careful because I've got my camera on a tripod, and every time I touch the table, it wobbles. So apologies. So that is what I get. So the cherry tobacco's there, and then in the dry down, I get something even sweeter coming through. So maybe like a vanilla. I also get some patchouli, and I get what was the other things I got? So apologies, yeah. So cinnamon, patchouli, tobacco, sandalwood, so something creamy and thick in the base, maybe with some added vanilla, possibly. So that is what I get from that. Yeah, so let me just catch on some of the cloves. Another one makes sense that I missed. And so this to me is Christmas. It's cherry tobacco. It reminds me of a couple of different fragrances. So to give you an idea of something it might smell like, I don't think they are necessarily this, but it smells a little bit like Insurrection, Nigel. It smells a little bit like Pure Havana, just a touch, and I think that's the tobacco. And it smells a little bit like Herod. So it's in that sort of vein. It's quite resinous. It's quite thick. You can see from the colour of the juice that, and you know what? The performance is insane. So we have Hilary in the house. Hi, Hilary. Thanks for joining. So that is Ceylon. I think that it is Ojan from Parfums de Marly is my final guess. Now I haven't had the good fortune to smell that particular Parfums de Marly fragrance yet. So that is my guess. It is Ojan, but it is very sort of cherry tobacco, vanilla, patchouli, sandalwood, cloves, some spices. It reminds me of Christmas. Maybe some woods or some pine or something in the background. So that is my guess on Ceylon. We'll see if we get any close. Right, so Amethyst is the next one. Now, what do I get from this? I'll get back into the story. I was wearing LA as my scent of the day, and I wore that to work, sprayed it on first thing, and I was getting lovely wafts of it too. What an amazing fragrance that is. Sorry to give them a plug on this, but it's incredible stuff. And I decided to give this a little spray, just one spray on my hand. And that was about 11 o'clock in the morning. And I could still smell it when I got home that evening. Now, just the one spray was more than enough. If I was wearing it to work and it was my only fragrance, I don't think I'd spray too much of it up and around this area. I would maybe spray wrist, hand, give it a little dab and walk and leave it, because you will get incredible wafts of it. It's powerful, powerful stuff, but it's not challenging, not to me. If you spray too much of it, I think it could be really, really pushing it too far. So my best advice if you was to pick this up is do not overspray. Now, what do I get from this? The individual notes I'm going to struggle with slightly, but I've just watched Scott's and there's a couple of things I agree on. But let me give you an idea of what this one is. Now, this reminds me, let me spray it on this arm. Give it another go. There we go. All right. Now, I struggle with the opening in terms of what it is. Let me tell you the main base note. The main base note, I think, is vanilla. And this reminds me of a couple of different fragrances. It reminds me a little bit of Cubano, which is Rose Salas's, or Tobacco Vanille. It reminds me a little bit of that. And the reason I say that is because of the vanilla dry down. It also reminds me of Black Afghano by Nasamato. So that is something else it reminds me of. It's quite salty, and I'm not copying you there, Scott, but I get the same thing there, mate. Not sure where that would be coming from. Maybe there's some ambergris in there that's doing that. I'm struggling with the middle notes and stuff. It's not green, it's not gourmand, although it's quite resinous. You can see from the colour of juice, it's very clear, but this really sticks to the skin. Really potent stuff. Yes, it is potent stuff, and sprays I'd recommend, Paul, on both of these will just 2 sprays would last you all day. So if you want a powerful fragrance, then these. Now, I don't particularly think that, I think they're going to be too much on a really, really hot day. Although I did wear this on a hot day, but I wasn't in an air-conditioned environment, so it did work for that. So just be careful. If you're wearing it out to a barbecue or something in high heat, it could be a little bit too much. And I don't think Vitor will mind me saying that. And that's the same with either of those 2 fragrances. To me, they're not summer freshies. Now, in the opening of that again, there's a beautiful sweety, salty accord. Vanilla, a little bit of tobacco in this maybe as well. I might be completely way off there. But it's definitely got some spice to it. And the spice, almost like a saffron, like an expensive spice I get from it. It could be like I think it is, it's not saffron that's in it, I don't believe, but it smells like expensive spices. It's not overpowering. So to me, it's not really peppery, or it doesn't get up your nose. It's just faint there, enough to give it some interesting, enough to give it an interesting composition. So they're both atomic, Paul. Yes, 100%. Is Tom Ford effing fabulous worth it? I haven't tried that, Michael. I believe Vitor's got a version of that. It might be worth Freaky Ace giving that a try first, Michael, and see if you like the composition, and then moving on to the real thing if you really enjoy it. Maybe that's. But there we go. Nigel's put that the Rose Salas FAB is great, and yeah, Kevin at Mersey Sense really enjoys that too. He thinks that's fabulous. So John thinks it was a powdery. Yes, John, there could be some iris in this for sure. There's something clean in there. There's something that adds to the cleanliness, and the saltiness is there. So maybe, I'll tell you what it reminds me a little bit. Have you ever tried a shower gel that's got that sort of blue? It's like a blue one, and it might have like salt minerals and sea salt, and I don't know what it might be, but we've had one that's in a blue bottle, or it's a blue liquid, and it's quite salty, and that reminds me of that a little bit. But then it's got the vanilla and maybe tobacco in there as well. So really, really interesting.